Morning, America and the rest of the world. Xander J. Hobson here. Stand-up comedian, entertainer, director, and producer, and troll to those who need trolling. This here is another episode of The Devil's Advocate, brought to you by the Brilliant Artist Movement. So before we go any further, do me a solid. Subscribe, hate, like, share this video. Leave a comment in the comment section. So the other day I was listening to the good brother and a guy I consider my friend, the poor black man. And he was talking about Kevin Samuels and some of the people who are in his camp. The poor black man talking about guys who don't like women. The poor black man talking about fellas who wake up every morning to deliver a message, something derogatory about women, black women in particular. And he was saying he wondered if these individuals had that type of energy in person. Well, to be totally honest with you, poor black man, old chap, I couldn't tell you whether they had it in person or not. But I will say this to you, sir. Kevin Samuels is pimping the woman haters and the wannabes. And when I say pimping these guys out of their money, to be clear in what I'm saying, just like a preacher gets up on stage and talks all that holy roller bullshit in order to pimp or seduce his congregation out of their money, this is what I'm talking about. And when I say pimping these guys out of their money, when a pimp talks all of that good shit in order to get a woman to go out and sell her body and then come back and give it to him, and that's what I mean when I say pimping. And when I say pimping people out of their money, Kevin Samuels gets on these airways. He badgers women, and he says everything that he needs to say to get his audience worked up so that these guys will call in and they will donate money in order to tag the comments that he made about women. Some of these guys are comics. They don't even bother to call in. They just listen to Kevin Samuels, and after a really good dragging and badgering of a woman, they just start sending money. So when I say pimping, this is what I mean when I say Kevin Samuels is pimping these guys out of their money. Kevin Samuels telling these guys exactly what they want to hear. In fact, those who have bought into Kevin Samuels' hook, line, and sinker are kind of sort of watching a form of intellectual pornography. These are guys who are spineless weasels who do not have the tools to have a friendly conversation with a woman, an intelligent conversation with a woman, or a spirited conversation with a woman. These gentlemen don't know that when respect is due, respect is given. But in order to get respect, you have to be worthy of respect. And a lot of these fellows who tune into Kevin Samuels to watch him badger women and talk slick and greasy to women, they don't have the tools to handle a woman in a manner such as you and I, and even our Kevin Samuels. I'm certain, poor black man, old man, if a fella like yourself or myself have a problem with a woman, we have the intellectual tools and patience to be able to navigate our way through a conversation with a woman. And she doesn't have to be a disagreeable woman, because guess what? I can't speak for you, poor black man, but as for me, I don't even deal with unruly and disagreeable women. Now, there was a time when I was a young man, I would direct my conversation to their old man, if they had one, or any man in their life. But at this juncture, I just find it tiresome to engage an ignorant, disagreeable, belligerent woman. But back to the point that I was trying to make. Yes, a lot of these guys are being pimped by Kevin Samuels. And when I say a lot of these guys, I'm talking about the guys who hate women, and I'm talking about the wannabes, the guys with the low self-esteem, because I don't want to give the impression that I think all of Kevin Samuels' audience is a bunch of woman-hating yahoos. Some of those guys are some solid brothers, but you got a lot of creeps, geeks, women haters, freaks, and wannabes in Kevin Samuels' ranks. And a lot of these guys are guys who sit around and masturbate to porn. I heard you saying something, you being the poor black man. I heard you say something about someone was promoting blow-up dolls in the ranks of the manosphere, which doesn't surprise me, because when you have an individual saying
that, shows we don't need you. The only thing we need you for is reproduction. We want you for sex. But see, even then, a lot of times those guys had pages or squires. Those young boys were sexual companions to these men as well.
I wouldn't be surprised what scum crawls out of that outfit that aligns themselves with Kevin Samuels. I think Kevin Samuels puts out some good content, and he said some great things. However, Kevin Samuels lost all credibility with me when he made the comment about women being for babies and boys being for pleasure. He lost all credibility with me when he talked about.
And if I believed in reincarnation, I believe I was either Chinese or Asian or Italian in another life.
He lost all credibility with me when he said,
and they're saying, beauty is subjective. That's another fallacy. Beauty is not subjective. That's why we have the golden ratio, the Fibonacci equation. Right. You can look at facial symmetry and see that. That's right. Beautiful people, you can map their facial structure, and it goes to a mathematical calculation. Oh yeah. Beauty is universal, and the thing is, we're talking about black women. They are on the opposite end of the spectrum on all ranks. Facial symmetry, even to the way black women are starting to look more masculine.
Now, does that mean that Kevin Samuels still can't say something intelligent and informative? Yes, he can. However, the man's credibility is in question, and a lot of the guys who tune into Kevin Samuels are tuning into a form of intellectual porn whereby they stand back and they enjoy listening to Kevin Samuels badger women. This is what's going on. I wouldn't be surprised that these individuals that we're talking about didn't have an extensive collection of pornography. I wouldn't be surprised if these guys were voyeurs who look through binoculars at their next door neighbor while he or she is engaging in sexual intercourse. These are the type of individuals that fill the ranks of not only Kevin Samuels, but also the ranks of the Donovan Sharps of the world and a lot of these other guys who badger women, particularly black women. I was listening to a broadcast of Donovan Sharp not too far back, and Donovan Sharp is a guy who definitely doesn't like sisters. And from what I gathered from listening to other broadcasts, Donovan Sharp seems not to be too fond of black people, period. But I said all of that to say this. As I was listening to Donovan Sharp and his panel of guys,
he will go with a baby mama, a woman that has 3 baby daddies. And white men ain't never going to do that. So this is why I think black women always stick to the guns of going to black men.
Real quick, just to add to that, CJ, I agree with you that they won't challenge them. And then I'll take it a step further. The guys that have the ability to challenge them, don't deal with them. They go just deal with like another race of women altogether.
Right.
Talking about how fucked up women are, particularly black women. I noticed that he had tons of Patreons calling in, and when these guys called in, they were donating money.
Shout out to the Coach Gang with the $100 super chat. Then he donates another $10 super chat. Says, by the way, Kevin now has more live views than SpaceX launches. With the $20 super chat, says he took no nonsense and blew up. He actually tells black men and especially women the truth. C-Dub with the $10 super chat says KS. Slagos the Sauce continues to make me look like an idiot with another $50 super chat. About that. Lord Sinister, $50 super chat says.
Now, not to count Mr. Sharp's money, but during the time that I listened to his broadcast, Mr. Sharp might have raised over $2,000 just from his Patreons. And most of these guys that called in, they called in to make nasty remarks about women, black women in particular.
Because here's the reality, and there's empirical data to prove this. Black women have the lowest approval rate of all the other races of women. I'm going to say that again. Black women have the lowest approval rate of all the other races on dating apps.
Now, I said all of that to say this, poor black man, old chap. A lot of these guys, the same way they were throwing money at Donovan Sharp just so they could come on his platform and drag women, these would be the same guys who were throwing the $100 bills up on the stage at a strip club. I don't mind telling you, I am familiar with strip clubs and prostitutes, owing to my time as a U.S. Marine and a guy out in the streets who did all kind of things that guys out in the streets did back in the 80s and the 90s. So I'm familiar with the scene of strip clubs and pornography and things of that nature. Now, let me go on record for saying one thing real quick while we have pornography on the table. Xander Hobson is too vain to look at pornography. Okay, let's put that on the table. Xander Hobson watched pornography as a youngster. And when I say a youngster, I'm talking about 13, 14, and maybe 15, until Xander Hobson got proficient at slinging dick. And then after that, Xander Hobson took his show on the road, practicing the maneuvers that I seen in pornography. At this stage of life, from probably 16 forward, the closest that Xander Hobson got to pornography was watching Xander Hobson banging hot chicks while I was looking in the mirror at myself. But let me get ready to sum this video up because there's no need to be long. My brother, the poor black man, Kevin Samuels, is an intellectual pornographer and porn star to the women-hating men and the men who are wannabes in his ranks. Kevin Samuels is like a jackleg preacher, talking the talk and collecting tithes for his venom that he spews against black women. Guys like Kevin Samuels and Donovan Sharp are pimping the women-hating men and the wannabes, because again, when those guys get on the airwaves and spew their poison about women, black women in particular, you have women-hating men and wannabes one-upping each other on the Patreons, calling in, paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars just so they can add their 2 cents to the comments made by Kevin Samuels, Donovan Sharp, and all the other YouTubers with platforms who think like them. Yes, Donovan Sharp and Kevin Samuels, they might not even believe a lot of the stuff that they're saying. And I would like to believe that Donovan Sharp and Kevin Samuels are taking advantage of these women-hating idiots. I'm going to give them that much credit. But again, I couldn't tell you, and to be totally honest with you, I am done with it. Bam!